The twin suns of the remote colony cast long shadows across the metallic surface of the landing bay. Princess Alara stood at the edge, her eyes scanning the horizon where the sky met the distant mountains. The wind carried a faint hum from the colony's power cores, and she could feel the energy vibrating through the ground beneath her boots. It was quiet, too quiet for her taste. "Your Highness, the inspection team is ready," called Lieutenant Mara, her voice cutting through the silence. She stepped forward, her uniform crisp and her expression tense. Alara nodded. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Let's begin." The colony, small but fortified, was one of humanity's last outposts in this sector. They had been warned of the alien presence in nearby systems, but no one expected the threat to reach their doorstep so soon. Still, Alara held her head high. She had been trained to lead, to think clearly under pressure, and to face dangers that would terrify most people. As she walked with Mara through the corridors, she observed the humans preparing for what she knew might be inevitable. Engineers were checking the colony's defensive systems, soldiers were loading energy rifles and reinforcing walls, and pilots ran simulations in the flight bay. Everyone moved with purpose, driven by the quiet determination that came from knowing survival might be on the line. "Alara," Mara said quietly, "we've detected unknown ships entering the system. They're fast, very fast." Alara stopped and looked out a reinforced window toward the void of space. Tiny glimmers appeared in the distance, growing larger with every second. Her stomach tightened. She had hoped humanity would have more time. "How many?" she asked. "Too many," Mara replied. "Our fleet is not enough. They could overwhelm us in hours." Alara's jaw tightened. She could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. Most would evacuate in this situation, leaving the colony to its fate, but she refused to abandon her people. "No," she said firmly. "We will not leave. If they come here, they will face us, all of us. I will lead them." Mara hesitated, but seeing the resolve in Alara's eyes, she knew arguing was pointless. The princess would face this challenge, whatever the cost. The approaching ships grew larger in the sky. They were unlike anything humanity had ever seen, sleek, angular, and shimmering with strange energy. Each vessel seemed alive, moving with an intelligence that sent chills through even the most experienced soldiers. "Alara," Mara said again, "they're forming a fleet, hundreds of ships at least." The princess nodded. She had expected that. Even now, she refused to show fear. Instead, she focused on what could be done. Humanity's technology was inferior, but their ingenuity had carried them through countless impossible situations before. Perhaps this time would be no different. "Take me to the command center," she said. "I need to see our options." The command center was a dome of glass and metal, filled with blinking panels, holographic displays, and humans moving frantically to coordinate the colony's defenses. Alara stepped inside, and all eyes turned to her. Whispers spread quickly. "The princess is here." Colonel Rin, the colony's chief strategist, approached her immediately. "Your Highness, we've calculated their approach vectors. At this speed, they'll reach our orbit in under 3 hours." Alara studied the display. The fleet was massive. Hundreds of alien ships, each one larger than their biggest human battleship, advanced in perfect formation. Their energy shields glowed faintly, and occasional flashes indicated some kind of weapon charging. "Can our defenses hold?" she asked calmly, though her mind raced with calculations. Rin shook his head. "Not for long. If we engage them directly, we will be destroyed in minutes. Our best chance is to delay them until reinforcements arrive, but there are no reinforcements." "We are alone." Alara's chest tightened. Alone. That word carried weight, but it did not crush her spirit. She knew humanity had survived against impossible odds before. They had intelligence, courage, and unpredictability, tools the aliens could never fully anticipate. "We won't fight alone," she said, her voice steady. "There must be something we can use, something they don't expect." Rin raised an eyebrow. "Your Highness, we have one option, but it's untested, dangerous." Alara leaned forward. "Tell me." "There's an old weapon," he said slowly, "buried deep beneath the colony. It was created long ago in humanity's early space exploration days and abandoned when it was deemed too powerful. It's dormant. We've never activated it. We don't know if it even works." Alara's eyes narrowed. "Show me." Minutes later, they arrived at a heavily secured vault. The airlock hissed as they entered a chamber filled with humming machinery and towering metallic structures. At the center was the weapon, a massive construct of human engineering, sleek and cold, with glowing circuits running along its surface. Alara ran her hand along the metal, feeling its latent power. "How does it work?" "We don't fully know," Rin admitted. "It's supposed to manipulate energy fields on a massive scale. It could destroy the fleet if used correctly, but if miscalculated, it could destroy us instead." Alara's mind raced. Every second counted. The fleet was approaching, and hesitation could mean death. Yet she felt a strange calm settle over her. Humans had always faced the impossible. They had always found a way. "I will learn it," she said. "I will use it, prepare the simulations. I have to understand it before they arrive." The next hour was a whirlwind of data, controls, and calculations. Alara studied every holographic display, memorized sequences, and ran simulated attacks. She made mistakes. Several minor explosions shook the chamber, but each error taught her something new. Her determination never wavered. Meanwhile, the colony's sensors picked up the fleet's progress. The first scouts were entering orbit, firing warning shots that shook the colony's shields. Humans scrambled to defensive positions, but morale was low. Fear spread like wildfire, and whispers of doom filled the corridors. Alara emerged from the vault, her uniform smeared with grease and sweat, yet her eyes burned with focus. "Listen to me," she said, addressing everyone. "I know this weapon. I will use it. If we fight together, we can survive. We may be outnumbered, but we are not powerless. We are human, and humans find a way." Her words echoed through the command center. For the first time since the fleet appeared, the soldiers felt hope. Alara's courage ignited a spark, a reminder that even one determined human could change the course of events. Outside, the alien scouts closed in. Their glowing hulls reflected the sun's, and the first shots struck the colony's shields. Alarms blared, and the ground vibrated with the force of impact. Alara stood at the main viewport, watching the chaos unfold. She felt the weight of responsibility, heavier than any armor, yet she did not flinch. This was her moment. Humanity's survival might rest on her shoulders, but she would not falter. Minutes stretched into tense silence as the fleet deployed its main forces. Hundreds of ships now filled the sky, their energy weapons charging in unison. The command center shook with each minor strike. Humans braced themselves, but panic threatened to overwhelm them. Alara turned to Rin. "We have one chance. Prepare the weapon. I will control it personally. Keep everyone ready to support me." Rin hesitated but nodded. "It's ready, Your Highness, but are you sure?" Alara's gaze hardened. "I am sure. Humanity does not cower. We do not run. We fight, even against impossible odds." With that, she entered the control chamber of the ancient weapon. Massive consoles lit up under her touch. Lights pulsed, hums vibrated through the floor, and the air seemed to shimmer with energy. She ran through sequences, her fingers moving with precision, her mind focused entirely on the task ahead. Outside, the first wave of the alien fleet began its attack. Lasers streaked through the sky, striking the colony's shields with thunderous force. Human defenses fired back, but the difference in technology was obvious. Even as brave soldiers fought, ships were destroyed, walls were breached, and panic began to rise. Alara's heart pounded, but her mind was clear. She had trained for this moment, not in the field of battle, but in the quiet strength of preparation, intelligence, and courage. Humanity's survival depended on her ability to act decisively, to think creatively, and to face fear without faltering. The weapon hummed louder, responding to her commands. A glowing field expanded before her, a soft light at first, then brighter, pulsating with immense power. She aimed toward the alien fleet, calculating angles, energy levels, and timing. Every fraction of a second mattered. And then, as the first alien ships crossed into range, Alara made her choice. She pressed the activation sequence. The chamber shuddered violently as energy surged, illuminating her face with a fierce glow. The sky outside reflected the power, a dazzling display that would be remembered in human history as the moment one princess stood firm, refusing to yield. The first strikes landed. Explosions rocked the distant fleet. Alien ships faltered, shields overloaded, and debris scattered across the void. Humans watched in awe as the impossible began to unfold. Alara did not celebrate. She focused on the next wave, knowing this was only the beginning. The fleet was vast, and the battle had just begun. But for the first time, humanity had a chance. And the princess, standing alone against the stars, would face it head-on. The explosions in the void lit up the sky like distant fireworks. From the command center, the human soldiers stared in disbelief. The alien scouts that had advanced so confidently were now drifting in space, their hulls cracked and sparking, fragments spinning slowly away. Princess Alara stood at the viewport, her hands gripping the cool metal railing. Her heart was steady, but her mind raced. This was only the first wave. The fleet was enormous, and they would not stop. Not now, not ever. Your Highness, Colonel Rin said, approaching cautiously, the first wave is destroyed, but the main fleet, it's coming, and they're bringing larger ships. Alara did not flinch. Then we prepare, every human here must fight, every ship, every weapon, every mind. They think they can break us because we are small. They are wrong. Myra, standing nearby, swallowed nervously. Do you really think we can hold them, even with the weapon? Alara turned to her, her eyes sharp and calm. The weapon gives us power, yes, but it is not enough. We need strategy, creativity, unpredictability, and that is something they cannot anticipate. We are human. That is our greatest strength. Outside, the alien fleet advanced in perfect formation. Massive warships glinted in the sunlight, their energy weapons glowing ominously. The smaller ships that had survived the first strike adjusted their positions, forming a protective barrier around the largest vessels. Every movement was precise, mechanical, and terrifying in its efficiency. Alara activated the weapon again. A pulse of energy surged forward, streaking through space like a comet. This time, she did not strike at the entire fleet. She targeted the support ships, ones that guided the larger warships and relayed commands. They exploded spectacularly, scattering debris and sending shockwaves through the formation. The command center erupted in cheers, but Alara held up a hand. Stay focused, she warned. This is only the beginning. Colonel Rin nodded. We've rerouted all remaining human ships into attack patterns designed to exploit the openings you created. If we move carefully, we can slow them down. Alara studied the holographic map of the battlefield. Every movement of the alien fleet, every gap in their formation, every chance to strike could be the difference between life and annihilation. Her mind worked faster than anyone could follow, calculating angles, energy dispersal, and reaction times. Hours passed, and the human fleet executed her plans with precision. Small ships darted in and out, using the terrain of asteroid fields and debris to hide from alien sensors. Decoy drones created false targets, drawing enemy fire away from the humans' real positions. The aliens were fast learners. They began adapting, reorganizing their formations and striking with greater coordination. But Alara had anticipated this. Her strategies were layered, her tactics flexible. Every move the aliens made was met with a counter. Still, the fleet was vast. Despite the humans' ingenuity, casualties began to mount. Several ships were destroyed, their crews lost in silent space. Each loss weighed heavily on the princess, but she refused to falter. Humanity could not afford fear, not now. Your Highness, Mara said, pointing at the holographic display, they're concentrating fire on the outer defenses. If we don't respond, they'll break through to the colony core. Alara's jaw tightened. Then we give them something to fear, prepare the weapon. I'll strike the formation's edge, but carefully. We cannot waste energy. The chamber hummed as the ancient weapon activated. Its energy pulsed rhythmically, a living heartbeat of light and power. Alara focused, visualizing the fleet's weak points, the angles where shields overlapped and the gaps in their firing patterns. Then, with a steady hand, she released the pulse. The impact was devastating. Alien ships were thrown off course, shields overloaded, and explosions rippled through the formation. The humans cheered again, but the princess did not allow herself celebration. Every victory was temporary. The fleet was still enormous, still dangerous. Hours became a blur of strategy, calculation, and near misses. Alara moved tirelessly from the weapon's control to the tactical displays, coordinating attacks and rerouting ships. Her determination inspired the humans around her. Soldiers who had been afraid now moved with courage. Engineers worked faster, pilots flew with precision, and every human was focused on survival and on victory. By midday, the aliens changed tactics. They split their fleet, sending smaller squads to flank the colony. The human screens lit up with warning signals. Alara's mind raced. A direct assault would be catastrophic. They could not withstand the firepower of the alien squadrons. Then we fight smarter, not harder, she said. Divide and confuse them, lead them into traps. She instructed the pilots to lead the alien squads into narrow asteroid fields surrounding the colony. The alien ships, large and cumbersome, struggled to navigate. Collisions with asteroids and debris disabled many, while human drones fired precise energy bursts hitting exposed points. Alara watched every move, her focus unbroken. For every ship destroyed, she calculated how to save the next. For every loss, she devised a counter. The humans were not invincible, but they were clever, and that cleverness gave them an edge. Hours turned into an entire cycle of light and darkness. The alien fleet pressed on relentlessly, and the colony's defenses creaked under the pressure. Still, humanity held. The weapon pulsed again and again, each strike carefully measured. Alara's mind never wavered. In the middle of the chaos, Myra approached her. "Your Highness, the flagship is approaching. It's enormous. The weapon alone may not stop it." Alara looked at the display. The alien flagship dwarfed every other ship in the fleet. Its hull was layered with advanced armor, and energy pulses raced across its surface. It seemed to dominate the space around it, as if all other ships moved in deference. "They rely on strength and size," Alara said quietly. "We rely on intelligence, agility, and courage. That is our advantage." She turned back to the weapon. "We will draw it in, use the fleet's own momentum against it, prepare every human ship for synchronized attack. We will not wait for the impossible, we will create it." The plan was daring. Human ships spread out, appearing to retreat as the flagship advanced. The alien commander, confident in overwhelming firepower, pursued without hesitation. Alara activated the weapon at precise moments, striking support ships and creating confusion. The flagship's path was disrupted, but it remained powerful. Alara studied the enemy carefully. She noticed a pattern. The flagship relied on a network of smaller ships to maintain stability in formation. Destroy the network and the flagship would falter. She relayed commands with precision, coordinating attacks across the colony's forces. Explosions lit up the void as humans executed her strategy. Smaller alien ships were destroyed, their loss forcing the flagship to adjust. Energy pulses from the humans' weapon disrupted shields, and debris from the destroyed vessels forced the flagship to maneuver awkwardly. For the first time, it showed signs of vulnerability, but the flagship was intelligent. It adjusted quickly, firing massive energy beams that struck human ships with terrifying precision. Losses mounted, and the humans began to feel the pressure. Alara remained calm, analyzing every strike, predicting every movement. "Your Highness," Mara said, her voice tense, "we may not have much time. The flagship's firepower is increasing. If we make one mistake..." Alara placed a hand on Mara's shoulder. "Then we don't make a mistake. We are human. We survive through courage, creativity, and teamwork. Focus, trust in your training, and we will hold the line." Minutes passed in tense silence. The void seemed endless, filled with flashing lights, explosions, and the hum of energy weapons. Human ships moved like shadows, striking and retreating, exploiting every opening. The alien flagship pressed forward, but the humans had created chaos it could not fully control. Alara's eyes were sharp, her mind calculating angles, energy outputs, and timing with precision. Then she saw it, a small, critical structural point on the flagship exposed during a maneuver. If struck with the weapon at the right moment, it could cripple the enemy's largest ship. "Prepare the weapon," she ordered. "This is the moment. Focus everything we have." The weapon hummed, light gathering into a bright pulse. Human ships moved in synchrony, creating openings and drawing enemy fire. Alara adjusted the aim, aligning with the exposed point on the flagship. She waited for the exact moment. Then, with a decisive press of the control, the pulse was released. It struck the flagship's weak point, creating a massive explosion that rippled across the hull. The enemy ship shuddered violently, systems failing, shields collapsing. Debris flew outward as the flagship began to drift, its power diminished but not destroyed. The humans cheered, but Alara's mind remained focused. This was only one battle, and the fleet still posed a threat. Yet, for the first time, hope burned brightly. Humanity had struck back against impossible odds, and they had survived. The princess turned to her soldiers and engineers. "We have shown them that we will not yield. We have shown them what humans are capable of. But the battle is not over. We must be ready, stronger, smarter. We have learned, and we will continue to learn. Humanity survives, and we fight." Her words echoed through the colony, carrying a message of courage, ingenuity, and determination. The humans, inspired by her bravery and leadership, renewed their focus. Even in the darkness of space, they were not alone. They were united, and they would not surrender. As the sun set, casting long shadows over the colony, Alara stood once more at the viewport. The alien fleet still lingered in orbit, vast and powerful, but the tide had shifted. For the first time, they feared humanity, not because of numbers, but because of courage, intelligence, and an unbreakable spirit. And the princess, alone in the command center, remained the guiding light of hope, preparing for the battles yet to come. The void of space was alive with fire and light. The alien fleet hovered in orbit above the human colony, massive and menacing, yet showing cracks in its perfect formation. Princess Alara stood at the weapons control panel, her face calm, her mind razor-sharp. Every moment counted. Every decision could mean survival or annihilation. "Your Highness," Colonel Rin said, approaching from the command center, "we've slowed them, but the flagship is still operational. Its shields are weakening, but not enough for a full strike. We must plan carefully." Alara nodded, her gaze fixed on the massive vessel drifting in the void. "Then we plan precisely. One strike at the right moment, one perfect maneuver, that is all we need." Outside, the human fleet prepared for the next phase. Smaller ships darted among asteroids, using the natural cover to avoid alien sensors. Drones simulated larger formations, tricking the enemy into misjudging human numbers. The colonists watched nervously from the command center, trusting their princess's strategy even as fear gripped their hearts. Alara studied the holographic displays. The alien flagship was still the central threat, and its movements suggested intelligence far beyond normal human understanding. But intelligence was not invincible. Every machine had weaknesses, and every formation had flaws. Alara's mind worked quickly, analyzing patterns and predicting the next move. "They rely on formation and support ships," she said quietly. "If we remove the support, the flagship will falter. That is where we strike." Mara, standing beside her, nodded. "And the humans?" "They will fight with everything they have," Alara replied. "We are small, yes, but we are unpredictable. That is our weapon too." The humans moved as one. Engineers reinforced shields, pilots aligned ships for attack, and soldiers prepared to defend the colony. Hope had returned, tempered by fear, but it was enough. For the first time in hours, humanity felt they had a chance. The alien fleet advanced, unaware of the trap being laid. Smaller human ships lured flanking squads into narrow asteroid fields. The massive vessels struggled to maneuver, and energy weapons fired against the asteroids ricocheted harmlessly. Human drones hit exposed sections, taking out critical systems and forcing the aliens to adjust. Alara's voice was calm, clear, and commanding. "Now, strike together. Use the weapon at my signal." The humans executed flawlessly. The weapon pulsed once, a bright surge of energy ripping through space, striking exposed points on the alien support ships. They exploded in controlled bursts, fragments scattering and forcing the flagship to make awkward maneuvers. For the first time, the alien commander hesitated. "Good," Alara whispered. "Keep the pressure, do not let them recover." Colonel Rin adjusted fleet positions. "The flagship is slowing, its shields are weakening, we can do this." But the alien commander was not foolish. The flagship's energy fields surged, firing massive beams at human ships. Several smaller vessels were destroyed, their crews lost in silent space. Yet the humans adapted. Every attack was anticipated, every maneuver was countered, every loss became a lesson. Alara studied the flagship carefully. Its hull was massive, but she noticed a pattern: the energy pulses, the shield cycles, and the timing of the weapons. There was a moment, just a fraction of a second, when a particular section was exposed, a structural vulnerability. That was their chance. "Prepare the weapon," she ordered. "We will strike the flagship directly. Focus all firepower on that one point. Timing is everything." The human fleet responded. Every ship moved in precision, coordinated with the weapon's energy output. Drones created decoys, drawing fire away from the main attack. Engineers worked frantically to ensure the weapon could fire at maximum power without failure. Outside, the void seemed to hold its breath. The alien flagship, confident and imposing, approached the trap. Its massive energy weapons glowed, ready to destroy any who dared challenge it. But Alara had calculated the exact moment. Every movement was deliberate, every decision precise. The pulse of the weapon grew brighter, energy building into a powerful surge. Alara focused entirely on the target, aligning the beam with the exposed structural point. Time seemed to slow. Every human in the command center waited, breath held, hearts pounding. "Now!" Alara shouted. The weapon fired. A blinding surge of energy streaked across space, hitting the flagship's vulnerable section with perfect accuracy. Explosions rippled through the massive vessel. Alarms blared across alien ships. Energy shields failed, systems collapsed, and the flagship shuddered violently, drifting in space, crippled but not yet destroyed. The human fleet pressed the attack. Smaller ships hit weakened points, drones disabled remaining support vessels, and the weapon pulsed again, striking critical areas. The flagship, once untouchable, faltered under the precise, coordinated assault of humans who refused to yield. "Keep firing," Alara commanded. "Do not stop, every moment counts," Colonel Rin smiled grimly. "They've underestimated us. The flagship is faltering." The alien commander struggled to regain control. Smaller ships were destroyed, energy flows disrupted, and the fleet's formation broke apart. Chaos spread among the aliens, and they began retreating, though in an organized manner. Alara did not relax. She watched every movement, every ship, every threat. Victory was near, but not yet complete. The weapon pulsed once more, striking the flagship's core systems. The massive vessel groaned under the strain, engines failing, energy fields collapsing. Debris scattered across space. The flagship drifted, powerless, a shadow of its former might. The humans cheered, but Alara's voice cut through the noise. "We are not done. Focus. Finish this." The fleet's remaining ships, now disorganized and vulnerable, were quickly neutralized. Human drones, small attack vessels, and the weapon's precise strikes combined to overwhelm the alien forces. Slowly, the once mighty fleet began to scatter, retreating from the colony. Outside, the void was silent, save for the soft hum of the colony's energy shields. Debris from the destroyed ships floated across space, a reminder of the battle fought and won. Humanity had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious. Alara lowered her hands from the control panel, her body exhausted but her mind alert. She turned to her soldiers and engineers. "You have done it," she said. "Humanity survives because of courage, intelligence, and determination. Today we stood against the impossible, and we prevailed." Colonel Rin approached, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Your Highness, you led us when all hope seemed lost. You gave humans a reason to fight, and we followed. We survived because of you." Alara shook her head, a small smile forming. "No, we survived because of all of us. Every human here played a part. Every mind, every hand, every heart. We are human, and that is our strength." Mara nodded, eyes shining. "You were incredible, Your Highness, alone against them all, yet you never faltered." Alara looked out at the stars, her gaze steady and unwavering. "I was not alone. Humanity stood with me. We all stood together. That is what they cannot defeat. That is why we will continue to survive, to fight, to thrive." The command center erupted in quiet celebration. Humans hugged, cheered, and shared tears of relief. The colony had survived, the fleet had retreated, and hope had been restored. The battle had been won not through sheer numbers or advanced technology alone, but through courage, ingenuity, and unbreakable spirit. Hours later, as the twin suns rose over the colony, Alara stood once more at the viewport. The wreckage of the alien fleet drifted in orbit, a silent monument to the courage of one human princess and her people. She allowed herself a moment to breathe, to feel the relief, and to reflect. Humanity had faced annihilation and survived. The future was uncertain, yes, but they were stronger, wiser, and more united than ever. And in the quiet of the command center, Alara made a promise. Humanity would never bow. Humanity would never surrender. And humanity, led by courage, intelligence, and the unyielding spirit of one princess willing to stand alone, would continue to thrive among the stars. For now, the skies were calm, the colony safe, and hope alive. But Alara knew the universe was vast, and challenges would come again. Yet she also knew that as long as humans stood together, as long as courage and ingenuity guided them, they could face anything, even the darkest void and the most formidable enemy. The princess smiled, not with pride alone, but with determination. Humanity had survived the impossible, and they would do it again if necessary. For Alara, for the colony, and for all of humanity, the fight was far from over. But the stand of one had inspired the courage of many, and that was a force no fleet could ever destroy. The stars above sparkled, silent witnesses to the triumph of human spirit, and the princess, still standing tall, looked to the horizon, ready for whatever came next.